Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hello there, welcome to the Inner Edge with myself, Shane Craddock. I am just back from a couple of days where I had a group of CEOs and business owners down in Mount Juliet, in my home county of Kilkenny. Nice stay. We were there it's part of something that I do with some clients called the Inner Circle, where we meet up for a day every 2 months to step out of the noise of life and look at their careers, their lives, their businesses with an inner perspective as well as an outer one. And one of the things that I was doing with them, I suppose, is kind of partially inspired why I'm going to focus on this particular subject today, which I'm calling your mind and your thinking. And this is part one of part three. I'm just going to try and kind of maybe explore some areas that really I could spend a few hours talking on in each section. So the reason that this was kind of provoked a little bit in terms of an idea, I think, was because I was doing some work with them in terms of their mind, how to use memories as a way to settle your mind, improve your mood, enhance your performance. And it occurred to me as I was driving home last night that probably didn't emphasize one thing to the group, so maybe they might listen to this, is that you're not your mind and you're not your thinking. You're separate to those things. Your mind is a tool. Your thought and your thinking is a creative tool, but they are separate to you, and that can be confusing to hear. Certainly, when I first heard it, I thought, "What the heck is this person talking about?" But it makes a lot more sense to me now. And when you go in and even do work on your mind, the danger with it is that you stay in your mind, and that is a danger. So, I suppose to lead us into part one today, what I'm going to suggest is that you think about this, that the experience of your life is created by three things, really. Your mind, and your thinking. They combine in three different ways. Now, today, we are going to focus on thinking and thought. And ultimately, if you've ever reflected on what thought is, it's kind of an interesting thing. I mean, we all think, we know that. If you say to somebody, are you having thoughts now? Or, what's the thinking going on inside you? Most people, if they stop and pause, they will be able to tell you, well, I'm thinking this, or my mind's saying this. But ultimately, if you think about it, it's a creative tool. And Shakespeare, I can't remember in what play he wrote this, but there's a phrase that he came up with, which is that nothing is good or bad, but thinking make it so. What that implies, I think, is quite insightful. It's that things happen in life, things happen in your life, and we think, oh, well, I don't like this and I don't like that. But we're the ones labeling something as good or bad. And that is important, that we decide the meaning. And it's important because it has a massive effect on your mood, your motivation, your outlook. And because it affects those things, it will affect your actions and your results. Because I could have 2 or 3 people in the same situation, in the same circumstances, maybe the same adversity, but depending on what they're thinking, the outcome will be very different. Now, I know myself that the same Shane in the same circumstances, but on different days. So, for example, if I've got a different mood on a different day, but I've got similar circumstances, I will get a different outcome. So you can have 2 people with similar ability, but if they have different thinking, they will get different results. I'm sure you can relate to that. And in business in particular, I think the best leaders are the ones who at some level, and usually it's unconscious, they're the ones that they use their thinking more effectively. They've figured out a way that works for them. And in relation to what they do in business in particular, their thinking is extremely good. It gets results. But they don't always necessarily link the results to their thinking. They might mistakenly believe, oh, that's just me, they might notice that other people who seem smarter can't seem to get the same results. You see this with a lot of entrepreneurs. They're not necessarily as intellectually smart as a lot of academics or other people, but they can very often be more successful, not just in business now, but also in life. And it really comes down to the way that they're using thought, And you do have a choice to change the way you use thought. And I guess that's what I want to try and maybe provoke a little bit in you as you're listening to this. And what you see with business in particular, that leaders, as for example, somebody's moving up to the ranks or growing a bigger organization, and if there's more at stake, maybe there's more stress that most people will retreat from. These people have figured out at some level that they're able to not allow thinking that sabotages them. So a lot of people are very focused on thinking positive and, visualizing. And some of the visualization in particular, I'm a big fan of. But I think perhaps what's more important is not allowing thinking that sabotages you. Now, I mentioned in the last episode a quote from the pioneering psychologist William James. He said, people tend to become what they think about themselves. People tend to become what they think about themselves. And that's very, very true. But we don't always think, well, hang on, I have a choice here about what I think about myself. Because a lot of the time we just think, well, that just seems to be true. That's me. But that's not necessarily the case. Now, there is another quote I'm going to kind of bring in here, which is by a guy called Epictetus. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he's from, I think, Aristotle's time, the philosopher. And this is what he said: you become what you give your attention to. If you yourself don't choose what thoughts and images you expose yourself to, someone else will. And their motives may not be the highest. And that is very much worth considering, especially in today's world of the media, the pervasiveness of technology in the media and social media, and also the people around you. And the danger is that if you don't choose the thoughts and the images as well that you expose yourself to, which are versions of thoughts, the danger is that you can kind of lose your way, get lost in your thinking, and limit your growth. Really important. Another quote that William James, the psychologist, said, which is a lot in it, is the greatest discovery of any generation is that a human being can alter their life by altering their attitude. If that's true, that's incredible. If you can change your attitude, you can change your life. But is it too simplistic because it's whatever, 15, 16, 20 words, whatever it is? But I fundamentally, my experience is that is true. But what is attitude? You could say that attitude in a way is a feeling. For without doubt, you could say that, but really every feeling comes from thinking, from thought. So there's a direct link between how you feel and what you're thinking. So bringing it back to you, just for what it's worth, what are you thinking about your overall life at the moment? What are you thinking about your work? What are you thinking about money or finances? What are you people thinking about some of the people that are closest to you? And if it's not in the zone of, good, as I say, there's nothing good or bad, but think you make it so. Bad is stuff that we don't like, that our personalities don't like, but we're the ones choosing whether it's good or bad. It is funny though, what you find is a lot of people who are very good with adversity or crises, they generally kind of will just in a way think, well, I'm just going to get on with it. They don't label it bad. I mean, the circumstances might be not what they want ideally, but they just kind of say, well, it is what it is. Let's turn it into lemonade if it's lemons. That's a version of choosing your attitude. Well, I got lemons. Other people might go, well, it's lemons. That's it. Let's do nothing. So maybe if your mind has decided, or you've decided that you've labeled something as bad and it's affecting your motivation, maybe you could change it to play a game and either let go of it altogether, let go of that thinking because you're not your thinking, or maybe think something better. Turn something from a label of bad into good. Does it make a difference? Nothing good or bad, but thinking make it so. We don't always think about that we have a choice to what we think. We can believe something, we can give our energy into something, or we can choose not to. You become what you give your attention to, as Epictetus, nice word if you can say it. So I recall, even as I'm speaking here now, and this is going to relate to the next episode where I'm going to talk about your mind and whatever that means, but thinking about a CEO that I worked with maybe, I don't know, over a year ago. And they said, well, I get that I'm not my thinking. I get that bit, but I thought it was my mind. That's actually not the case. So I'll explore a little bit more about that as my little teaser for you at the next episode. And as a final takeaway, and so before I give you the final takeaway, just a little thought. Not everybody knows that I have a book out called Inspire Me. It's on Amazon all over the world. And if you like what you're hearing here, maybe check out Inspire Me by Shane Craddock. And it's the kind of book that it's very easy to dip in and out of. I have another book in the works that I'm getting very close to the end. And I'll be definitely letting you know about that. Because I think if you're a fan of this podcast, you'll certainly like what you're going to get in the new book. But there's more to come on that. So just to finish off with today and part one of this You, Your Mind and Your Thinking, my suggestion is that you get better at choosing the thoughts that you want to give your attention to. You become what you give your attention to. Okay, that's it for today. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.